teacher. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist. Get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zeimet.
Hello and welcome to the Beverly Zeimet Show, where being the best you can be just got easier. And my guest today is Monica Coronel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. We are in for a treat today. This young lady is from Boca Raton, Florida, and she is going to share with you what she does and how she can help you make a difference to become an even better you. Take it away, Monica.
Beverly, thank you for that introduction. And yes, I am very excited to be sharing this space with you. I specialize in emotional intelligence, and I've been researching, practicing, developing emotional intelligence since 10 years ago. I also meditate and practice yoga, and I lead an online university here in Florida, and we offer master's degrees in business 100% online in English and Spanish. It's something very exciting. So today I'm gonna share with you about emotional intelligence, because it happens to be, as Dr. Daniel Goleman said 25 years ago, more or less, that is the key to success. And when I read that phrase, it caught my attention, and I started investigating, I started exploring, I started practicing and developing. And I realized that emotional intelligence is the key to get in touch with our emotions and our thoughts. And that is the way to become, aware of who we are, first of all, and then how can we get where we want to be, whatever our dreams are. So it is very exciting to me to be sharing with you this wonderful discipline, as I call it, because I believe that if we want to do something in life, we really want to commit to it and practice it consciously, so we really apply what we learn as concepts, as knowledge, as information. Otherwise, it just stays as an intellectual, at the intellectual level.
Right.
So practicing is the key, and applying those concepts is the key. And emotional intelligence is very interesting because it actually gets us to explore deeper and deeper, first of all, on our inside. And sometimes we get lost about what is the inner world. And I simply think that is thoughts and emotions. The inner world is our thoughts and emotions, and we hardly pay attention to them.
That's right. That is so right on.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have even developed great strategies to avoid them, to hide from them,
Yes.
and to just look the other way. So we are experts in avoiding our emotions and our thoughts, because what happens is that we have been programmed since we are born. And those thoughts, the mental chat that is always there, we just don't pay attention anymore. It's just part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't realize the importance of every thought and how thoughts create and manifest, and how thoughts and emotions are always walking, dancing together. Every time we have a thought, we are going to have an emotion, and that emotion is going to create or to motivate more thoughts. The interesting thing here is to realize that as long as we are unaware of those thoughts and emotions, we are creating an energetic field around us that we are not aware of, and we don't realize the power that we have. So it is a beautiful journey to begin to realize how vital it is for us, because as somebody said, thoughts and emotions shape our destiny.
Hmm.
So it is that powerful.
Yes, it is. It surely is. Yes, thoughts and emotions shape our destiny. And that is something that if people can really understand that statement right there, and just listening to you describe the emotional intelligence, is it's like, wow, it's coming from a different door, shall we say, and coming into the inner and finding your true self again, that identity, right? So when I'm listening to what you're saying, it's like, wow, she's describing what I'm doing. I call myself, a self-discovery or an emotional archaeologist, right? And working into that DNA, and basically it's going inside. But one key thing that you said that I think the audience really needs to clear is being aware, that awareness. But then what are you going to do with that awareness, right? To be able to recognize what those emotions are. And as you describe that field that's around you, which is that it becomes an automatic response. You're living in that energy and that belief, and then that becomes you. It might not be the true you, but it's you, because when you created it in that truth and you continue to follow it in an automatic response, now it's your personality. And you don't have
Exactly.
to think about it, right? It just boom, and it's there. And how are you going to change that until you recognize it, move out of the denials, right? Move out of the denials to be able to say, wow, maybe that's a piece of me that I could like improve. How could I change that to become a little bit more better in the direction that I want to be an expression of? So when you're working with your clients, how do you talk with them, or how do you bring them around into that ability to start to recognize that there is an emotion, and then what the intelligence of that emotion is, that intelligence of the emotion? I think that's key on how you're expressing it, which is beautiful. I love that terminology. So when you start to work with someone, how do you peel back that curtain to say, here is your emotional intelligence. Now what are you going to do with it?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for asking. I have been developing a method that I've been creating a result of my research of these many years, my own practice, of course. Otherwise, I couldn't share something that is authentic and real.
Hmm.
And just by observing how my clients apply it and how it has helped them get in touch with their emotional intelligence, with their emotions, thoughts, and gaining the abilities and capacities that emotional intelligence offers us to be an authentic being, successful, happy, joyful, compassionate, empathic. And basically, what I came up with is a method that is very simple. It is identify, process, and transform your emotions and thoughts. How do we do this? I realized that the key to do this is to activate our self talk. Because when we do that, it's like you have an inner voice that can guide you and show you the way. So you are not alone. That is the very first thing that we need to understand, that we are not alone.
Hmm.
And that even though we have been conditioned to think that the answers are always outside of us, they are actually all inside of us. So the thing is, realize that we have that inner voice already in our mind, but we don't pay attention and it's not conscious. The moment we make it intentional, then it becomes really clear. So the moment we start to pause ourselves a few times during the day and just say, what emotions are present? I ask myself, what emotions are present? And I start talking to myself, and I allow that awareness to identify my emotions, What I say is there is stress, there is anxiety, I see anger, I see frustration, I see depression, I see doubts, I see confusion, whatever is there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people is not, for people it's not easy to connect with emotions. They don't know how to name them, they don't know how to identify them. Another way to do this is to connect with the body. Our body is basically the house of our emotions. So the body knows exactly what we are feeling because emotions hide in our body.
Yes.
And what we do in that case is to learn to scan our body, mentally scan the body slowly and consciously, and then you identify very easy the places in your body where emotions are stored. And then you start to ask questions to your body. Sometimes it may seem weird, people might feel uncomfortable, but as soon as they realize that they have this tool, they become fascinated by it. And they say, no, my body is actually talking to me. For example,
Right.
my shoulders, yeah, the tension in my shoulders are telling me that there is stress, there is frustration, there is anxiety. Or the emptiness in the middle of my heart is telling me that I am sad, that there is sadness, that there is, I don't know, anxiety, that there is the feeling of heaviness or emptiness. Whatever the sign is there. And as long as you trust that your body, that your awareness is going to guide you, you are going to understand and identify what are the emotions that are present. So that is the very first step. Always what emotions are present. Either you name them, you identify them verbally, and or you scan your body and then you connect with your emotions. The second step is to ask yourself what mental stories, what thoughts are behind it.
Yeah. Let's stop for a second and go back to this number one, because this is really important to really to understand that and to be able to communicate with yourself, right? And because I travel so much, I mean always on the road, right? People ask me, "Well, are you with yourself? You know, do you go by yourself?" I say, "No, actually there's three of us. There's me, myself, and I." Right?
Yeah,
So I'm never lonely,
I
right?
love.
And there's
Yes,
always somebody to listen because I always talk to myself, you know, and it's that talking out loud that makes a difference, you know. So when you can move out of this thought pattern, right, and this emotional feeling and stuff, and you start putting it into words, you begin realizing that, oh my gosh, I was actually thinking something like that. This is crazy, right? And that
yes,
awareness starts to open up, and that higher intelligence that you have, that higher consciousness, will speak with you and will give you answers and give you guidance and direction. But it's opening to that awareness, you know. So if I'm understanding what you're saying, you know,
yes,
it's just coming, like I said, in a different door, but we're still all reaching into that same arena to understand where this emotion is coming from. And I really loved it. You said, you know, pay attention to your body. Oh my
mhm,
gosh, now you're really talking my music here, you know, because
yeah,
emotions do store. You know, and anger is a big emotion, right? Where a lot of people
mhm,
feel anger and frustration, and that stores in the liver. You know, so when you look at that, you know, and some of the words that we say, you know, when we're upset, you know, like, well, I'm really pissed off. How does that connect? Listen to the words that you say, because they will tell you the areas in your body where there might be some imbalance or dysfunction going on. And the liver takes care of what? You know, getting rid of the liquids in the body, right? So it
yes,
kind of connects, right? And so when you can start to feel in your body, as you said, you know, the shoulders, what is that tension and anxiety and stuff you're feeling in that shoulder? What in your life is weighting you down? You're not
mhm,
Charles Atlas. You don't need to carry the world on your back. I mean, I got the world behind me here. Whoop, on this side, right? I got the world
yeah,
behind me here. But I'm not carrying it, because when I walk away, it still stays over there, right?
exactly,
So being able
exactly.
to recognize that, and you know, it's not always a pretty sight. It doesn't look good, doesn't feel good, doesn't taste good, it doesn't sound good, but getting out of the denial of it and to recognize it, now you have an opportunity
Yes,
to clear away. You know, you don't know what you don't know. Then the
exactly.
question is,
Hmm.
what do you do with what you know? And I think this
Hmm.
is where you take them into step two. So, what do people do now that they recognize that there is something going on here and they feel
Right.
it and they're starting to pay attention? Where do we go with it?
Okay, beautiful. So the next step, as I said, is to ask what mental stories, what thoughts, what ideas are behind these emotions. And it's very important to clarify something. When you talk to yourself and you identify your emotions in step one, it is very important that you don't use the language that we usually do. That is, I am frustrated, I am stressed out, I am anxious. And instead you said, there is, I see anxiety, I see frustration, I see pain, I see fear, because then you separate yourself from the emotion, and emotions and thoughts are energy.
Right.
So you separate yourself from that energy, and then you can gain some clarity. So in step two, we ask ourselves, what mental stories, what ideas, what thoughts are behind these emotions, because it's always, as I said, they dance together. And when we realize and when we ask, then it becomes very clear. For example, the mental story could be right now, going through the situation we are going is,
Right.
I don't know, life is terrible. Life is terrible. And that is a very strong thought, because everything that you are going to perceive is going to be terrible, and it's going to feel horrible, and it's going to be heavy, and it's going to be feel like you don't have another choice. And when the mind and the brain receives this information, and it feels the fear and the anxiety and the frustration, it immediately goes into survival mode. And
Mm-hmm.
in survival mode, we cannot think clearly. We shut down. So we just want to survive. We want to make sure we are going to exist one more day. And we need to make sure that we have everything we need, because we need to protect ourselves.
Right.
And that's not an optimal state of being. So when you identify the thought, life is terrible, then you can question that thought and say, is this absolutely sure, certain, sure, is true, 100%? And then you start to notice that something opens in your mind, because then you realize that maybe life is not terrible in 100%. So then you have a space to say, oh, maybe my mind is making everything bigger than it is, or is making it seem worse than it is. And
Right.
then you have a space, a neutral space, where you can breathe and you can say, okay, not everything is terrible. And then you start noticing good things in your life. Like, for example, in the middle of this chaos, I can say, sometimes I get, pulled by the unconscious, the collective unconsciousness. And then fear strikes, right?
Right.
And then it's hard to breathe, and it's hard to feel calm, and it's hard to think, and it's hard to see options. And then I start to practice my own method, and I said, okay, is this 100% sure? And I said, no, I have a beautiful family. My family is fine. We are here together, and we have enjoyed being together, and we are learning new things from us, and we have regained things that we have forgotten, maybe,
Right.
because of the busyness of life. Or I see my neighbors and they are fine. I know that my family is okay. My mom might be alone back in my country in Ecuador, but she's fine. She's taken care of. And then I start to notice the good things in my life, and then my body relaxes. I feel that I can breathe again, and I don't feel in panic anymore. So this is what the second step does to you. It helps you create a space of neutrality when you can gain clarity. And when we gain some clarity, we can behave according to who we really are, and we can make decisions that we are not going to regret later, because that is the big situation here. When we don't bring awareness to our life, we make decisions and we behave in ways that later we regret, causing pain not only to us but only to the people that are around us. So that is the beauty of this, that you start to become aware that you are responsible of other people's well-being as well. And you take that responsibility when you decide to handle your emotions. You channel your emotions. You don't just act on your emotions.
Yeah, then that's going back to that first step, right? It's that recognizing those thoughts and those emotions. And it's beautiful how you said that, because it's that ownership. When you say I
Yeah.
am, right? Those are two powerful words in the dictionary. And it becomes ownership. So when we think it's mine,
Mhm.
it's mine, I have it, right? No, you can't have it, it's mine,
Right.
right? And so it then instills itself into every cell of your body, and you begin responding to it as if it were. So, like you said, you separate. You say, there is, or it's out there, it's whatever. It's like, oh, right? And just watch that ownership. Any word that you're using that is going to claim that, it makes it harder to eliminate. And then again, it's your awareness. And I love the analogy you said, oh, well, if you're thinking something is terrible, then everything, it sets the pace so that everything around you
Mhm.
becomes that, right? And so when you look around at the beauty and everything, like you said, in the midst of this chaos, because it can be, we respond on fear, right? And when we respond on fear, we react in that survival. That was another key word here, that survival mode. And what happens? We just do, and then when it's done, because we're exhausted and we sit back and we look at what has just transpired, it's like, oh man, now I got to go out and do damage control, right? Because
Exactly.
you responded instead of saying, whoa, and remove that ownership. And that is about also being that better you. When you begin to recognize some of these
Mhm.
auto responses and say, well, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. It's part of that comfort zone.
Yes,
It's predictable, right? It's
exactly.
predictable. And in moving out of that change, and a lot of people don't like change, but change is going to happen whether you make a choice to do it or not. And
Exactly.
not making a choice is still making a choice, right? So
Exactly.
really become aware of your surroundings out here, help you understand the surroundings in here, and they work together, and they begin to show you the real you, and what it is that you can do to become better space here. Because when we all start to unite in here and become a better creation and space within our own being, and knowing our identity, walking out here, then in the midst of everyone else, we can be true to ourselves, we can be true to the world, and we're really not unlike each other, because we are all connected into one,
Yes.
right? And so what we do in here makes a difference and an impact out there. And so working with the label that I chose, archaeology, emotional archaeology, right, and that self-discovery, is it goes into your genealogy. It goes into your
Hmm.
DNA, right, in that
Yes.
cell structure memory. And when you start cleaning that up from those avenues, right, now you're impacting not only your life, but your ancestor, behind you life, anyone that's older than you, anyone that's on equal lines. But the key is now you're changing the future of how your
Hmm.
your genealogy is going to go, and how your children and your grandchildren and are impacted. Have you found that in your work, where people are starting to see changes not only in their life but in their family that they're closest to
Yes.
them?
Yes, absolutely, because we are connected. We are one. And if we want to see this from the perspective of emotions and thoughts are energy, we are all the time sending that energy, even if we are not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter because emotions are contagious. We can feel, we can perceive tension, we can perceive fear, we can perceive, happiness. We can perceive when people are calm and peaceful, and even they don't even have to talk to you. You just go into a place and you feel the energy of the
Right.
people that are already there. It's amazing. So
Right.
it's not just like we feel it. It's just we get this at the same vibration. We get influenced by that
Right.
frequency. So it's very important to ask ourselves every day, all the time, what frequency am I
Resonating it.
vibrating? Am I resonating? Yes,
Yes.
that is
Yes.
that is key. And we just have to find a way, each one of us, to make things aware of us, and how can we do it, making it personal. So what is my style? What resonates with me? How can I really understand this if I don't understand in the way this person is telling me? So, and we do that when we consciously and intentionally decide to change our life and live different and contribute to this world in a different way, knowing that we are part of it, and we are a drop in the ocean, but we are the
Yes.
ocean. We are the ocean as well. So when we are aware of it, and we just not separate ourselves from the neighbor or the other person in the supermarket trying to grab the same thing that I want, then we can see things different, and we can think about others. So it is very powerful. It is a very powerful practice that can help us understand a lot of things that we might have not had the chance to do it before. And now that we are secluded and we are sharing our space with these people that we love, that we consider our family, the most sacred first people in the world to us.
Right.
There are many things happening in our homes right now, because for some people maybe peaceful and enjoyable, and even though it is different, because we have, each one of us have to create our own space in the space we have to do the
Right.
thing to do the thing we need to keep doing. Other people are really having a hard time because the relationship before this started wasn't great,
Right.
and now they are stuck with each other 24 hours a day. And it is fascinating what is happening right now, because it is an opportunity if we want to understand it as an opportunity, or it can be, a horrible thing to go through if that is what we choose to see.
Right.
So everything is on our power. We can decide, am I going to make this a horrible, painful, traumatic experience, or am I going to use it to explore opportunities, to heal, to start creating this awareness in me, so I am conscious of my behaviors and my patterns and habits and beliefs, and how these influence my life, because that is a big part of the work that I was sharing with you. When you start identifying your emotions and your thoughts, you're also start noticing your patterns, your habits,
Yes.
your beliefs, and that is the key. That is the key, because we have the opportunity to transform them, and to say, this belief, this pattern, this habit is not serving me, and is not serving my family or my coworkers or my the company that I work for, or my community or the world.
Hmm.
So I have to transform myself, and that is the key in all of this.
It is. It's that transforming of the South, and to be able to recognize it. And you're right. When you're seeing what's going on in the homes of people right now and families, because they're spending time together, that
Yes.
hasn't been. We haven't, we haven't had that because, you're traveling to head to business, they're traveling to go to school. There's a lot of separation, a lot of hours of separation, where now it's all coming into that unit. And what are you going to do? Because you're there. You're there for the duration. Are you going to slit each other's throat? Or are you going to say, step back and say, you know, let's get to know each other, because we are
Right.
so much a part of each other. And again, we mirror. We mirror a lot, and our environment also helps to mold who we are. So when you can step out of yourself, because someone has to take the lead, right? So when you step
Right.
back and you start looking at the performance of people in your arena right now, in that close circle, what is it in them that you see that is a reflection of you in here? And
Exactly.
unconsciously, now you can start changing things in here. Just do it. Do it as a test. Do it as an entertainment, if nothing else, right? Do it as an entertainment. What is it that I'm recognizing in them that I see
Yeah.
in me that I would like to change? Work on changing that just through your thoughts. Just through your thoughts, because they're
Right.
powerful. And they are magnetic. All thought is magnetic, right? So you
Yes.
don't have to attach to those things, and you can detach. If you have two magnets together, you can pull them apart. Sometimes they pull apart pretty hard, right? But you can. You
Right.
can
Right.
separate that. And when you start changing and you start responding differently, it's going to throw off
Exactly.
all this habit out here, you
Mm-hmm.
know and throw out a question. I love this. And when I've had some of my clients do this and they come back and they said they never laughed so hard, when people are expecting you to respond a certain way because of your
The
predictability, right?
pattern.
And you,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And then you recognize, oh, this is one of my predictable things, and I'm not going to say that. And you just throw out a question or a statement that is so far removed from whatever you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. So let's just say maybe you're talking about, what has to get done, cleaning the house, because we're in this house situation. We need to clean up. Let's do our spring cleaning while we're here. We got to have something to do. Let's start cleaning out all this old stuff that we don't want, and you're going
Yeah.
about certain things and saying things a certain way, and when somebody comes, ask a question, whatever, and they're waiting for you to come back with a response, don't you dare get rid of that, because, right, when they know it's going to be a trigger for you, and then you throw something out like, hey, remember when we went to New York City, right? And we went over here and we were spending time, checking out this and checking out that, they're going to stop. They're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I just asked you, can I throw this away? And you're telling me what we're doing up here? It's like, oh, yeah. Well, that's irrelevant. Yeah, that stuff's irrelevant. Whatever.
Yes.
And really change that, because then they're going to say, well, what's with mom? Or what's with sis? Or what's with dad? Whoever is
Right.
taking
Yeah.
this initiative, right? But it's
Yeah.
that change. But change can't happen until you recognize
Right.
the
Yes.
need for change, right? So
Yes.
there was 3
Exactly.
steps you said. So we talked about 2. What is this third step?
The third step is I started to describing in the second step. You start questioning your thoughts, because
Okay.
that's the key. That's the key. And when you start questioning your thoughts, you start to open space where you can say, "Oh, maybe this is not as I thought it was. Oh, maybe it's not absolute. Or maybe it's not everything. Maybe it's not always." Like, for example, I don't know, somebody can say, "My kids are always fighting,
Okay.
and that is driving me crazy." And then you question that thought and said, "Are you sure it's 100% sure? I mean, it's true what you are saying, 100% yes or no?" And there are no more options. And then if you have to choose yes or no, mostly everybody says no. Well, it's not 100%. It's not all the time that they are fighting. And it's the same as in a relationship. For example, I don't know, my wife is always complaining. Is always, I mean, it's not always, but it seems like it's always. And then you start saying, oh, okay, so maybe it's my mental model, the way I think, my mental pattern that is seeing things as always and
Mm-hmm.
is forever and is everything. So let's reevaluate that. And emotional habits are very powerful because these emotional patterns captures our mind. So as is amazing how you get into, like, let's say a bubble, and you cannot see any further than that, and you compulsively do things because it makes you feel safe, for example,
Sure.
or it gives you a sense of security or control or something. And the moment you realize that, then you see how it's impacting you, because it is draining, is energy that you are utilizing in a way that is not giving you a true fulfillment. It's just a patch, it's just a band-aid. And when you realize that, and in the way the emotional pattern captures your mind, then you understand that basically is just a question of bringing some awareness to it, so you can you can free yourself. But when we start to identifying emotional patterns, the very first thing is bring awareness, so we are aware of our patterns, habits,
Okay.
and beliefs, emotions, and thoughts. The second step is to empathize with them. So you don't want to push them away or resist them or judge them, because it's going to be stronger. What we resist persists. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
that's a
right.
law?
That's a law.
So that's a law. So whatever we do with once we identify those patterns, those habits, those beliefs that are limiting us, we empathize with them. What does it mean? That we allow them to be. We allow them to be with us. We walk with them. We don't push them away. It's like when you have an undesirable guest in your home, you don't want to open the door and throw the guy or whoever is there away outside of your home, because that is going to be really harsh,
Right.
and you don't know how that person is going to react. It's the same with emotions, thoughts, beliefs, patterns, and habits. You want to recognize that it's not what you desire in your life, but you allow it to be, and you are gentle with it, and you allow yourself to feel the discomfort of identifying those aspects of yourself. And then we can start challenging them. It's like when we challenge the thoughts and emotions. Is this really true? This thought does not belong to me. This kind of self-talk that brings awareness to you and separates you from your thought or mental story is what helps us get in a space of neutrality and of awareness, so we can say, okay, this is not working for me anymore. I really want to transform it. And then after you empathize and you challenge it, then you start changing the habit pattern or belief in a compassionate and loving way. And we try, and we tend to be really harsh on
Oh
ourselves.
my gosh,
We
yeah.
we are our worst
Enemy.
judge.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
enemy judge, yes. And we need to learn compassion with ourselves, self-compassion, self-love, because if we don't have it for us, we cannot give it to others.
That's right.
It's just that simple. We cannot give what we don't have. So that is the inner work that I am inviting people to do, especially during this transition, because I know that is going to be for a better world. That's why my inner self is telling me, and I feel it, that this is something that is being that it came to us suddenly out of nowhere, that has forced us to embrace
Right.
change
Right.
in a way that is unprecedented. And we are just in a position that we are like, okay, what is going to happen next? When is this going to end? And in the meantime, the other day I was reflecting, because I have an Instagram account, and I do a minute of self reflection every day. And I was asking people, what is happening inside yourself while you cannot change what is happening outside yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So inviting people to self-reflection, to self-inquiry, to self-talk, because that's a process that has helped me for many, many years, that I've seen that it helps to other people as well. And it is simple. It is just a matter of creating a new habit. And in order to create a new habit, we need to intentionally set uh, that goal for us,
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves, and do whatever it takes to make it part of our new life.
Right. And it's what I'm hearing you say in one word to put that all together is open the lines of communication. Communication. And that communication starts where? In here.
Here.
Right? In here. And I really love the statement that you said that you cannot give outside of yourself what you don't have in yourself. That is so beautiful and it's so true. And a lot of people don't really understand that. I have clients, and just friends that say, I love my kids more than I love myself. Really? How much you love yourself? Right? And they say, well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, do you love
Yeah.
yourself 100%? Maybe sometimes, but not all the time. But you love your kids more than that? It's like if you only have 80% or 30% of love for yourself, whatever it is, you cannot give them more than that. It's no different than if I asked you to give me $1,000 and you say, well, I only have 800. That's 20% less than what I asked for. How can you say, well, it's complete, I'm giving you more than? No,
Yeah.
you're not. So you cannot give more love than 80% if that's what you feel in here, if that's what you store. That other 20% isn't going to be there until you maintain it in here. So get up in the morning, go to that mirror and look yourself in the eye and say, hey, you, wake up here. You know, what's going on
Yeah.
in your life, right? You know, and
Yeah.
let you know that you do love yourself. And start saying
Yeah.
that. The first time you look yourself in the eye and you say, I love you, it's really interesting, the tone of voice that you
Yeah.
use, right? Because that tells all. Do you believe it when you look at yourself and say, I love you?
Mm.
Really? That's not very convincing, is it? But when you can
Yeah.
stand in front of that mirror and look yourself in the eye and say, hey, you, I love you. Oh, man, we have got so much going on today. We're going to do this and this and this, right? Now, that's believable. That becomes real.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when
Yeah.
you open up that line of communication, and again, this talking to yourself, talk out loud, right? When you talk out loud, these thinking thoughts,
Yes.
they definitely sound different, don't they? When you
Yeah.
start speaking them. And that's how you learn that communication with yourself and communication with your body. And it's like, man, body, how come my wrist hurts all the time? What's going on here with you? I didn't sprain it, but every time I try to do something, it hurts. Why is that? Well, what is your wrist all about? It's your flexibility to what? To get a hold of something? Or to
Yeah.
push something away. Usually when the wrist is hurting, you're pushing something away because your hand is, tipped this way. And so there's that pain. So what in
Mm.
your life do you keep pushing away that you maybe need to
Yeah.
recognize? Right?
Yeah.
Listen to what your body is telling you. Listen to what the messages are around you. Become aware. Learn how to
Mm.
communicate, right?
Yes.
And
Exactly. Exactly.
there's so many different ways to reach that point, right? To reach that ultimate goal, that ultimate end.
Mhm.
So, Monica, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
Well, thank you, Beverly. There, I have an Instagram account, and I understand that you're going to give that information to the people in writing because it is in Spanish. So, but I do English and Spanish. So, I have a Facebook account as well, and I have a community that is called Conversations That Inspire, and I share information about emotional intelligence, a daily reflection. I always share sources and tools and that kind of stuff. And I also, well, they can also get in touch with me by email. Is I don't know if you are going to include it or you want me to tell them right now.
Yeah, you can tell them right now, and then we can also include it up on top where they can reach you, or they can actually, just comment, you know, comment below, right? And our names are there, right?
Right.
And you can click on it, and they can find you anywhere on all social medias just by your name, correct?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
by my name, but I use different. I use the name of my programs actually, of my
Okay.
emotional programs. So it would be great if we can share it in writing so they know where to look
Exactly.
for me. Yes.
Exactly. And we can do that because when, when we get finished with the live, it'll be up there on top and everything, and how they can make contact with you and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing all that information. It's great. Now let's talk about this university. I'm excited about that. What is this university that you're involved with all about? Because you said it's 100% online.
Yes, it is 100% online, and it is a university that I founded along with my husband and a partner 3 years ago. We are in the
Okay.
state of Florida, and we got approved by the Department of Education after 2 years. So it's been a long journey, and we are based in Western Florida, and the name of the university is Saint Colby University. And we created it with a vision, and our vision is to bring education because we believe that education is not something that is available only for a few, but it is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And since we are immigrants to this beautiful country, the United States, and we have been privileged to have access to the education that this country offers. I went to Notre Dame, my husband went to Kellogg, and those beautiful universities have bring us the tools that we needed to be on where we are now and fulfill our dreams and our expectations of life. So we wanted to share that with other people, and we know that online can reach just any place in the world. And we wanted to make affordable. We wanted to make in the language they speak, so it's in English and Spanish. And we wanted to make it short. So our masters are 12 months long, and except the MBA, which is 16 months. And basically is what we are offering is in the area of business, executive MBA, masters in finance, marketing, supply chain, HR, organizational behavior. So all the areas that we know the industry is looking for.
Okay, well that's great. That's great. So when you do it online, is it? I mean, do you have like videos up for people? Do you do live stuff? So they're, watching you as you're training, or is it just done, by PDFs? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, our method is asynchronous, meaning that you don't, as a student, have to get online at any specific point to get in touch with your teacher or have a lecture. Everything is in a platform, in an LMS. It's a Moodle platform,
Oh,
and
okay, I'm familiar with that.
our students log in and they go through the content that is already there. We have forums where they can share information, they can discuss topics. The professors are always interacting with them through the forums that we already have in place. And if they need something from the professor, they require an appointment, and then we go by Zoom and we get together just to answer whatever question the student might have. But basically is an exchange of information through the LMS, through the platform, and we make it very practical. We want our students to implement what they are learning. So we have projects that they do in groups or in partners. They have different, right now, for example, they are going through marketing research and they are interviewing people and they are going to present a project based on a product or service they decided to focus their attention on and work on it. And most of them are doing are doing something that they are already working on in their real life. So it is
Okay.
applicable. That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously it's available to anyone globally around the world in those two languages, and eventually maybe in other languages as well. And I know it takes a lot of work when you're putting together, a format and then having to change that over into the language. And obviously you're affluent in Spanish, right? And so
Yes.
that becomes, a little more easier. But when you're starting to go into, say, French or Italian or some of these languages that you can't even name, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to get that out there into the world and make a difference, and that does make a difference, in
Yes.
people's lives. Like you said,
Yeah.
education is key, but education is only as good is how you perform it, right? So now that you know all this, now this information you have, what are you going to do with it? Is it just going to lie here, or are you going to put it into action, right?
Exactly.
And that's key. I mean, oh my gosh, you see people that are, they're like habitual students, right? Lifetime students, and they just
Lifetime.
continue,
Yeah.
learning and learning and learning and more and more and more and going here and there and everything. But there's never any action taken.
Yeah.
They just keep on filling, their brains with
Yes.
more information,
Yes.
but they
Yes.
never put it to use.
Yes.
So if you had someone come into your university, okay, that was looking, to learn these things, and you start to see that type of pattern, and knowing the work that you're involved in, right, with the emotions and stuff, the emotional intelligence, I love that. How would you inspire to have them begin to maybe recognize something like that? Would you stir up a conversation with that, or would you just let it be?
Clarify it a little bit more about your question. It's about the emotional intelligence part that
Okay,
you are asking?
if someone is in this habit of just learning, that's
Okay,
jumping from one
got it.
university to another, right?
Yes,
But they're
yes, yes,
not
yes.
putting into action.
Yes. So that's why our content development team is focused on implementing activities that are going to invite them to practice it, to implement it. That's why the projects that are part of the programs are directed towards that, to the implementation of the knowledge that they are acquiring. Everything is very practical because we want them to actually being able to do it. And just going back to the emotional intelligence part, it is the same with emotions because we might read a lot of books, we might go to a lot of workshops or webinars or Zooms, but if we just keep the information at the intellectual level and we don't integrate thought and emotion, in the case of emotional intelligence, we are doing what you just describing. We are just filling our minds with knowledge and information, but we are not applying it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why most of the people get frustrated because when they want to gain, for example, the abilities or capacities of emotional intelligence, they are just reading stuff, but they are not applying it. They are not getting out of their comfort zone, and they are not being empathic, for example, because empathy, for example, requires you to be vulnerable. It re-
Oh, that's a tough word, isn't it?
yeah,
Vulnerable? Yeah.
yeah. It
Yes.
requires you to allow yourself to feel the pain of another person, of the discomfort of
Right.
another person. And we don't want to do that. So, how can you be more empathic if you are just reading books and not the concepts of empathy if you are not practicing? So,
Right.
it's the same in our classrooms. We want people to practice what is to do a market research, for example, or to understand the business environment, really. So it is applying. If we don't apply, it just sits as knowledge in our heads, and that's it. So it's totally different, as you said.
So in business, regardless of what business that is, whether you're a holistic practitioner or whether you're a medical doctor or if you're a lawyer or if you pick up garbage, because that's key, right? That's a good job, and we want them guys to stick around, right? So it doesn't matter what field or what profession that you're in. Are you, like you said, applying? Do you walk your talk? Right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
when you look
that's
at the
the key.
field that you're in, I look at the field that I'm in, and from what I'm gathering, what I'm hearing from you, this is a passion for you, and you
Yes,
do walk your talk. It's like I will never ask a client to do something that I already haven't done, right?
exactly.
and
Yeah.
and when you can perform that way and you're walking that talk, you're being that real you're living what you share.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference in how someone perceives you. They begin to trust you, they believe in you, and they reach out, and it's like, okay, what can you do to help me become that better me? I like what you're saying. I feel comfortable, and your story shows them that you came from here doing
Yeah.
what you teach, right? And so
Yeah.
there is hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not always a train, right?
Exactly. Exactly. It
Right.
is. It is a lot of, unfortunately, and I have spent a great amount of my life asking myself, who am I and why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
And that started since I was a girl. I mean, I always have those questions until, well, maybe that this is a topic or something that we can explore in a different show. But 5 years ago, I had a mystical experience, a near-death experience, and then everything opened up for me. It was
Yes.
a beautiful revelation of who am I? Well, I know who am I now, who I am now, and I know who we are now. Not because I have read it or I have somebody told me, but because I know it, I experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a powerful experience because when you really feel what we are, we understand that we are unlimited, that
Yes.
there is a field of unlimited opportunities. It's not just something nice to that somebody tells you or that are in books or whatever, or that is accessible only to certain people, because we all have the same capabilities and the same right
Right.
to explore the field of unlimited possibilities. So everything begins, I think, with those questions, and not everybody asks these questions to themselves. Who am I and why am I here? Is something is the very first thing that we should want to know. We should want to discover, and we should want to really feel. Otherwise, if we don't live with a purpose in life, um, that is why we just go in life wandering and trying to fill that gap, because if we
Right.
even if we don't recognize it, there is a big gap inside of us, and it goes beyond everything we understand.
And we
And it,
just repeat. And we just go about doing the same thing over and over and over, right?
yeah,
Like in oblivion, you don't have to think about it. You just go, right?
exactly,
Right. And
exactly.
so that you need to have, something else going on here to have that awareness and to understand that we do have a purpose, and I guess one of maybe the easiest ways is to I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want to be. I don't have a purpose because I don't know what I want. Sometimes it's easier to say, look around. This is what I have.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I don't want. Right? It's like, let's take those don't wants and let's put them out there in the garbage, right? Let's throw them in an incinerator. Let's dissolve them so that they're no longer interfering. So when you get rid of the don't wants, the
Mm-hmm.
wants start to show up. Have you found that in your personal life or in the lives of clients that you're working with, is to help them move through the don't wants first to find what they want, to find that purpose, what's fulfilling to them?
That's a very interesting approach. But what I've done so far is I'll guide them into, first of all, recognize who they are,
Mm-hmm.
who they are, self-knowledge, self-reflection, self-inquiry, self-talk. And when they start navigating or walking the journey, opening the door of self-knowledge, then they discover things that they didn't even know are within them. And then they start to see, obviously, what you are mentioning. What are all the stuff? What is all the stuff that I don't want in my life? And obviously, then it becomes very clear what I do want in my life. And I believe that the who am I and why am I here are linked together. And that is what happened to me. After I understood, I felt, I experienced who I am. Then the why am I here, it became very clear. It became very easy to connect with. And it's actually something that is already in us. It's just that we don't allow it to come to the surface. We don't allow it because we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe that we are
Right.
going to be capable of doing, of fulfilling our purpose in life. And that's one of the main obstacles, that subconscious fear of not being enough,
Right.
don't be enough to do it. And that is the secret. I've seen it, and it happened to me the moment I realized who I am. It was so amazing, so powerful. Then I couldn't deny my life's purpose because I knew that everything will come to me to fulfill it. It's just something that happens, and at a deeper level of awareness, of consciousness, that can manifest magically the moment we want to see it. The problem is that we don't want to see it. And we have ideas about what a life's purpose is. Maybe it's like being Mother Teresa, or it's maybe like being Gandhi, or that kind of stuff. So we put those ideas in our minds, and we say, no, that's far away. That's too hard. That's
Right.
too difficult. I don't want to leave everything to fulfill my life's purpose. But your life's purpose is whatever you are doing right now, do it with love, with joy. Enjoy it, put the best of you on it, and it's going to feel the best thing that happens to you. And your purpose might be to smile every day to the person who comes to your store, for example, or be kind, or be joyful, or help others to find their own path to self-awareness. Or whatever you're doing, do it with love and joy, and you are going to be fulfilling your life's purpose. And if you allow yourself to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I love dancing, for example. I am a great dancer, but the ideas that have somebody else have implanted in my mind about, oh, that's great that you want to be a dancer, but it's always the but.
It's always the but.
How are you going to survive? How are you going to feed your family? And then you start putting all these ideas that it's not possible for me.
Right.
And there are so many areas in our life, and we have to pay attention to our abilities. What comes easy to me? What I love doing? What do I enjoy doing? Because that's generally the signs that you need to understand what is your life's purpose. It's just that simple like that, but we make it so hard.
Yes, we
We,
do. We
we
do
make
make it
so
hard.
difficult.
It's crazy. You
Yeah.
you tapped on something about not being enough or not
Yes.
having enough. That scarcity mentality. So when you look at some of the events and things that are happening currently right here now today, where people are freaking out, there's an abundance of everything in the world. Everything. There's no shortage of food. There's no shortage of paper products, there's no shortage of knowledge, there's no shortage of anything, right?
Yes.
Yet because we don't have that fulfillment in here, we have that lack in here, the void that we're not able to fill in here. We start filling it out here with stuff, right?
Yes.
So look around in your home.
Mm-hmm.
What is the stuff that is there? What is the stuff that is in your closet? What is the stuff that's in your garage? Does your car fit in your garage, or do you have stuff in your garage? How many places do you have storage units with stuff? Right?
Yes.
And it's like we recognize ourselves as the stuff that we have makes us who we are. So the more stuff we have, the bigger and better we are, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily, right? Because
Yeah.
when you have clutter out here, you
Mm-hmm.
have clutter in here,
Oh, of course.
right? And so
Yes.
if you don't know how to start clearing up the clutter in here, start clearing up the clutter around your environment. Pick up something and say, does this serve me a purpose? How
Yes.
long have I had this thing?
Yes.
Oh my God,
Yes.
it's been sitting over here for 3 years and I've never used it. Why am I keeping it?
Yes.
Why
That's
is
the
this taking up space and energy? It's
Yeah,
time to
that's
get
the
rid of
key.
it.
Yeah, the question that you ask is the key, because then you can even ask, why am I attaching to it?
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
again, it's that need to fulfill that I have to have this. It's mine. It's
Mhm.
ownership and
It's
you
ownership.
can't take it away from me,
Yeah.
right? And so it's crazy when you start looking at, again, you go back into your emotional intelligence, right? and
Yes.
and how we hang on to traumas in our life, how we
Yes.
hang on to negative emotions and events that they involved in, how we hold on to all of the frustration or upset or whatever it is, and the people that were involved with that, and how we hold, against them, and
Mm.
it's like, rather than, breaking down the shield. And a lot of times it's those that are closest to us. It's family members. It might be parents, it might be siblings, it might be our children, it might be, cousins, relatives. But it's those that are closest to us sometimes that we distance the most because of one event and how you personally interpreted the database of information that took place there and the
Mhm.
frame of mind that you were in, and it is now so distorted with
Yes.
all this other magnetic thought because you sympathize when other people talk about things and you attach to that emotion versus empathize. Why don't you, Monica, talk to us a little bit about, and what really is the difference between empathizing and sympathizing?
Okay. So as I was saying, empathy is allowing ourselves to really step on the other's shoes and actually feel what this person is feeling. And we can do that only when we know how to handle our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we protect ourselves is because we don't have the strategies, we don't have the tools to handle our emotions. And because we have preconceived ideas that emotions makes us weak, that emotions are weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing farther from the truth, because emotions gives us information. Emotions is our hidden power. Emotions brings messages to us. They call to our attention, say, hey, look at this. This is happening. Look at this. Dare to look at it. And when we do, and we allow ourselves to step on the other shoes and feel their pain, because we know how to handle the pain, and we recognize that in allowing ourselves to do that, we are becoming one with the other.
Right.
But that requires a lot of inner work, because we are conditioned. We are conditioned to protect ourselves. Unconsciously, we are always uh, thinking, feeling that I need to protect from the others because they want the same thing that I want. And that's the mentality of scarcity, that there is not enough for everybody. So I have to be first. I have to compete. I have to shine. I need to be more than others because then I feel satisfied with myself,
Right.
because it comes from the wrong belief that I need to deviate or I need to derive my value from others' uh, recognition. When somebody tells me, "Oh, you did a great job," I feel full. I feel great.
Right.
I feel satisfied. But if somebody says, "Oh, your presentation was great, but maybe it was too long," what I am always thinking is, "Oh, maybe I should have done it shorter." And I don't hear it was great. I just hear
Exactly.
I just hear the other part. So that's
Yes.
what our minds do. But if we are not aware of everything and how emotions work and the power they have on us, we cannot be empathic with somebody else. So empathy is the true connection that happens between two people when we allow ourselves to feel their emotions, to feel their pain, their frustration, their anger, and we open the space inside ourselves so those emotions can get in, and we share it with the other person. And we don't feel afraid of it. Even if we feel vulnerable, we don't run away.
Right.
That is an essential part of emotional intelligence, because if we cannot open that space for other people, we are always building walls, and people feel it, and then the distrust comes. Then I feel the other people feels suspicious about me. They don't feel safe near me. They don't want to express fully because they don't feel that they can trust in me.
Right.
And that creates separation, and that creates barriers, communication barriers. It limits us and limit the other person to fully shine because they don't want to be ridiculed or criticized or judged.
Yeah, and then that is a great fear that people feel, that other people are going to judge them, and to be able to become that expression of. So if I'm hearing you correctly, when you're talking about the empathy, right,
Mhm.
is to give yourself permission to actually interact and feel with that person, right, as to what's happening and what's going on, but not be a part of it. Don't attach to
Mhm.
their feelings, understand them and flow with them, and feel them, but don't let them, let their emotion become yours, and keeping that difference, right, and that separation, so that you don't pile on, because again, thoughts are magnetic, right? So you're not taking their things on, but you're sharing and allowing them, giving them permission again to be themselves,
Mhm.
and be vulnerable and open, and allow that interaction to take place, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and you mentioned something that is key, because when we tell people, okay, allow yourself to feel other person's sadness or frustration or anger, but don't absorb the emotion, then
Right.
immediately we build up walls. We
Right.
say, "Oh no, I have to protect myself." When, in my experience, it doesn't happen if you do it from a place of awareness and you are aware that you are voluntarily and intentionally allowing yourself to feel the pain of the other person, but you have the tools to process the emotions and transform them, so you don't get stuck in those emotions and the other person is not draining your energy.
Right. Very well said. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we could talk for hours on stuff like this,
Yes.
Monica.
Yes.
It
Love
just,
it.
but we're coming down here to the hour, right? And we definitely want to get you back on the show again. And so tell the people again, how they find you.
Okay. They can find me on Instagram, and they can find me on Facebook. Look for, they can find me on LinkedIn with my name. That's the best, straightforward way to reach
Right.
to me. Send me a message or ask me to be part of your network, and we can connect, or you can email me. And my email is info M as in Mary, C as in Charles, O as in Oscar, R, O, again Oscar, Nancy, Edward, and L, Lily, at gmail.com. So infomcoronel at gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to share their journey, because that's my purpose in life. Accompany others to develop the capacities, the abilities to integrate thought and emotion and live a purposeful life.
Perfect. Well said. Thank you again, Monica, for being with us today, and we will have you back on again. So,
Thank you, Beverly.
viewers out there, if you have questions, comment below. Let us know what we can do to help you. So, it's time to do what? It's time for you to go out there and be that best you could be, because Monica and I here, we're going to go out there and be that best we that we can be. And we will see you on the next show.